Thank you for coming today. This is going to be a talk about the LCPTracker software that IDOT's using. My name is Tom Kurtenbach. I'm with the Central Bureau of Construction and Transportation. There we go. This is the way we're organized. Our bureau chief, our interim bureau chief, is Justin Mann. Doug Dirks is my supervisor. He's the engineer of construction operations. And there are 3 project review engineers, Kurt Evoy, Phil Silas, and myself. And new in 2024, we have consultant support, who happens to be in the back of the room smiling at me. You didn't think you were going to be on a slide, did you? All right. We're going to talk a little bit about the purpose of LCPTracker, how to start an account in IDOT's LCPTracker database. If you haven't looked at another database, you have to start an account with us. We'll talk about entering employee information, payrolls, certifying that payroll. Then we're going to talk about a little bit about what the prime approver is and what they do, and how IDOT accepts payrolls. At the end, we'll talk a little bit about things that have changed since we started buying this software for the state. So LCPTracker is a database that IDOT's using to collect certified payrolls, and it's really for payroll records only. If you're doing trucking or U-plans or something like that, we really don't want to see that in LCPTracker. That should really go to your resident engineer, or if they've asked you to put it in a SharePoint site or something like that, please keep doing that. The software will verify that the payrolls submitted meet or exceed the minimum wages that are given in the wage determinations. IDOT includes federal wage determinations in our contract, so you can look them up. There should never be a surprise with federal wage determinations. And the IDOL posts their wage determinations on their website. But IDOL will store payroll records for a long time. I don't know how long that is, but there used to be some confusion. Is LCPTracker required for my contract? These days the answer is yes. We started in November of 2022 using this software. So if you have a project that's a holdover from earlier than November of 2022, you're probably not in LCPTracker. But these days, almost everything is. Okay, so how do you get an account? At this point, I'm guessing most people here actually already have accounts. That's all right if you do.
Are you saying, like, trucking, you do not want anybody to log in for LCPTracker, you not need to see trucking reports and all?
Trucking reports should go to your resident engineer, but they really...
No, I'm sorry.
If you've got payrolls for your truck drivers, they should be in here. Does that help?
So what did you mean by one of your slides that you said truckers?
There's some extra paperwork that goes with truckers. There's U-plans and stuff like that. This is only payrolls. Everything else gets sent to your resident engineer. All right, where was I? How to get an account with LCPTracker. The best way to do that is contact your resident engineer or your district office. You'll probably get sent to a contract compliance officer or maybe to me. And they're going to ask you to fill out, it's a Microsoft form online. And it's got 15 questions, which here are the questions. It's going to ask you for your company name, your tax ID. It's going to ask you if you already have an account, telephone number, union status, owner's ethnicity, name, address, and telephone number, any disadvantaged business enterprise or women's business enterprise certifications, and who you would like to use as prime recruiter. And basically what that's doing is it's populating an Excel spreadsheet in the background, and then myself or a contract compliance officer will use that to generate an account for you. Right, so an IDOT person will generate a contractor account, and we'll generate a prime approver account, and The other thing that we'll do is the contracts, what is called a contract on our website is called a project within LCPTracker. And the district compliance officers or their staff are making projects for the individual contracts.
Can I ask a question? So when a contract gets executed by the state, is that when it shows up in the LCPTracker?
Not necessarily.
Or does it, when and how, who makes, we get that question from the gal who handles LCPTracker in our office.
Well, let me see, I've got a volunteer who's a compliance
I
officer.
usually put it in after my pre-con.
Okay.
Like, right.
There you go.
Okay.
I know the start
Sounds
dates.
like District 3's doing it after the pre-con, 6, when are you doing it?
I can do it when I get the contract proposal document.
There
I
you
think
go.
that's, I don't know how that works. It shows up, the construction engineer receives.
So he's doing it a couple of weeks after the execution, because it probably takes that long for the proposal to fill in.
Prior to the pre-con.
But
Is there a
prior-
guideline then with the districts of when it should be, when the contractor should have LCPTracker set up, like for our subs and stuff?
Not really.
After the pre-con is usually what we're trying to do?
We,
I
Well,
haven't
you don't
pressed
need
the
to
date
enter
on
until the
people.
job starts, Steve.
That's right, and that's what I wait for,
Yeah.
for the job to start.
It might not start for, I mean, we have pre-cons in the fall that aren't starting till the spring.
it varies by district, but some of us add subs for you, and some of us make prime add subs.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the districts are asking the primes to add their own
My prime
subs.
put their something.
Yeah, we put our own subs in, and we're doing it as soon as we get all of our subs executed, but then that sometimes throws off the start date and.
And then you'll start getting notices.
After the pre, okay.
All right, so moving on. This is what the software looks like. It is web access. They recommend you use Microsoft Edge, but whatever works for you. These days, they added this after we initially bought this software, but you may get asked to go through a two-step verification process where you'll log in and then they'll turn around and send you an email with a code in it. Same sort of thing your bank probably does. We're doing that now. And there's a handful of products available. The only one that we require is LCPTracker Pro, which you can see there in the upper left, or in the middle left. There's other services available from LCPTracker. If the contractor finds them useful, that's great for you. You may use them, we don't require them. And I know a lot of them come with a monthly fee, so if that's something that makes or breaks your decision. The only one we require is LCPTracker Pro, and it should be, since we're requiring it, we're paying a fee, so it should be free for all of our contractors to do what we require you to do. All right, this is how subcontractors get assigned. I think of it as there are projects, and there are contractors, and there are prime approvers. And what we do is we make those three accounts, and then we set up links between those three accounts. And this is one where the prime contractor should get assigned by the district compliance officer. And then either a prime contractor can assign their own subcontractors, which it sounds like a lot of them are doing, or if your subcontractor doesn't have an account, or if you're unable to do that for some reason, you're right, people can back you up on that when you get subcontractors assigned. And this is what that looks like if the group hasn't done this yet. And this is too small on my screen, so I'm going to step around here. Yeah. So these are all, what is it, Johnson Painting Company? Johnson Painting Company has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subcontractors. What you'll have to do, let's see if I can do this with the shadow here. You have to select your subcontractor, and it's going to ask you to fill in the contract ID and the start date. This is exactly what you were talking about earlier. Contract ID, just go ahead and use your state contract number. And the start date, try and get that as close as possible, but just before the day that this subcontractor shows up on the job. They will get, they'll get notices for missing weeks of payroll if you if you set it a month early, they'll get notices that they missed 4 weeks of payroll when it's not really true. So, as close as possible. All right. LCPTracker asks you to put in your employees, and they'll ask for name, address, only the last 4 digits of social security numbers. We do not want social security numbers in this database. It's purposely set up so you can't do it, but only the last 4. And then it'll also ask you ethnicity, race, veteran status, phone number, and gender questions for each person. Yeah, and again, this is what it looks like. Same sort of thing. First name, last name, addresses. Like I said, this one has a filter on it. It wants XXX dash XX dash 4 digits. That's what it wants. Oh, and for ethnicity, please do not pick not specified or other. Please don't do it. We're seeing a lot of those choices made. Our long-term goal with this is to be able to answer questions about oops. Our long-term goal is to be able to use this to replace maybe some of the PLA reports where we have to have ethnicity associated with people who've worked during a certain time period and stuff like that. And so we need actual data in here. If you take the easy way out and say not specified, we're just going to have to come find you later and ask you to change it. The other thing is, the thing that we've gotten caught on a couple times is, if we end up with a John Smith or a Robert Johnson or something like that, we have a little trouble differentiating them sometimes. So please fill in actual data. All right, after you've got your company, after the company is in and after your employees are in, you have to enter a payroll. It'll ask you for a weekend date, which project or contract number you're on, which employee you're reporting for and what their classification is. And it'll ask you for hours and regular time, overtime, your pay and your fringe benefits that are given to the employee. And it'll ask questions about taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and any other deductions that are made. And it looks like this if you do it by hand. Yeah, each one of these, all of these zeros and all of these boxes are the questions that we just discussed. There's a few of you that are admins on here. I know I've said this before, but if you see something that starts with "Z," that's my code for don't use that. There's something wrong with it. There's a few of you in there, so avoid, like this one starts out "Z," IDOT Bridge Office or Bureau of Construction example. Yeah. There are other ways to enter payrolls. If you use one of these pieces of software, they will export something that you can then import into LCPTracker. I'm not sure exactly what this means, but on their website, Paychex has Premier Allied Provider as their title. So if you are thinking about buying one of these, and you're going to use it with LCPTracker, LCPTracker appears to like Paychex the best. I have not used any of these, so. After payroll is entered, you're going to have to certify payroll. And certifying the payroll says that the information is correct, that the information is complete, the wages and the fringe benefits were actually paid, or you're going to say that you didn't work this week, or there's an option where you can say that you didn't work for multiple consecutive weeks, which is a good thing if you are on a utility delay or if you're in between stages for the winter on stage construction, then you can save, you or your subcontractors can save some input. And if it is the last payroll for your company, whether you're the prime or the sub, go ahead and check that final payroll button. If you don't check the final payroll button, you will start getting email messages that say that you are not providing payrolls that are due. So if you're done, tell the database that you're done. Okay. This is what that looks like in the database. The radio buttons here are work activity this week, no work this week, and no work for multiple consecutive weeks, the third one there. And you can, I believe if you go through that, it will ask you for how long you are not going to be on the job. Okay. So now that we put in all this information, this is what it looks like, which this is what we see on the other end. We get a PDF document that looks like this. It's basically a copy of the federal form, and it's a copy of the IDOL form. And it's the same thing we've gotten, the same sort of thing that's been around for years. And this is what the certification looks like, where I blanked out all the information here, but it'll get close enough to the projector so we can do this. You know, we'll have the person's name, who's filling out the payroll, and what company it is, and this person worked, because they're saying that they were wages and that they paid. So that's what we receive on the other end. Okay. This is probably the thing that gets mistaken or left out the most. The concept of a prime approver. I'll read this thing to you and I'll try and explain it. Prime approvers are an administrative role within LCPTracker. The role has to be created by an IDOT administrator, so somebody on IDOT has to make this, it's an account, a separate account. They'll have a separate login and a password from your business login and password. The prime approver is meant to be an employee who is working with the prime contractor, and what they are supposed to do is they're supposed to review the certified payrolls for their own company and for their subcontractors. And if they're correct, they're going to choose approve from a drop-down list. And this has to be completed before the IDOT employees will be able to see the payrolls. Like I said, this is, this is the most, by far the most misunderstood portion of LCPTracker. It's actually in the law. It's been there since the 60s, apparently. Wasn't enforced the best, I don't think. So a lot of people think it's new, but it's really not that new. So prime contractor will end up logging in twice. They'll log in once as the contractor to enter their payrolls, and then they'll log out. They'll log in again as prime approver to prime approve their payrolls and their subcontractors. And again, this is what that looks like. This is the person who's logged in as a prime approver. You know, these payrolls are from K5. But over here in the prime approval column, you can see the bottoms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The bottom 6 have not been prime approved, so the people at IDOT won't be able to view PDFs of those. But this top one has, and so that's what's going on. Everybody to see what that looks like. Okay. Then after that, IDOT personnel will accept a certified payroll. They'll have an opportunity to review it, and they'll review the certified payroll and certified and prime approved payrolls, forgive me. And if they're correct, they'll choose accepted in the accept status column. And this is what that looks like for the IDOT people. Same sort of thing where, here we go, right here, the accept status column. A couple of these have been submitted, and IDOT hasn't accepted them yet, they haven't reviewed them yet. This top one here has been accepted by the IDOT person. All right, so that's basically how LCPTracker works. These last few slides are all things that have changed, a little bit of extra info. Small business enterprise forms, trainee forms, monthly reports, those haven't changed. Each district kind of accepts them different, their own way. So go ahead, for the contractors, go ahead and do them the way that the district you're working for wants them done. It's really not, those things really don't belong in LCPTracker. There were Davis-Bacon rule updates in late 2023 that kind of expanded the scope of Davis-Bacon that covers additional locations and workers, changes the way prevailing wage is calculated, and it increased the employer responsibilities and penalties quite a bit. One thing I'll say is these are very situation specific, so if you're a contractor, please take time to review these rules yourself. One of the rules is that of Federal Highway Form 1273, we put in every one of our state contracts with federal wage determinations on it. That's pretty much the basis of what we're doing here. If you've never read it, it might be interesting. I'll go through a few notes on these. Expanding locations for workers, material suppliers can really only load and unload materials. If they do more than that, they're supposed to be reported as workers on the job. Truck drivers, this is the only time I'll mention them. Truck drivers carrying material between primary and secondary sites are now covered employees, according to the federal DOL. We don't do that very often. We do have a few borrow pits and that sort of thing around the state. Transportation between an adjacent dedicated site and the construction site are now covered. If the contractor has a yard that butts up to a job or is that's nearby but dedicated to one of our contracts, the people who are working on that adjacent site are supposed to be covered by Davis-Bacon now. And true owner-operators of trucks are not subject to Davis-Bacon. You still are supposed to put in a payroll. Check the owner-operator box when you do that, and a lot of the questions simply go away. So it's quite a bit easier for owner-operators. One of the changes to the way prevailing wage is calculated, the Federal Department of Labor is supposed to review wages on a 3-year basis. And this is quite a bit more often than it was in the past, especially in areas that didn't have very strong unions. Some of those wage rates were a decade old. The DOL is supposed to start using the Employee Cost Index to update wages, and the federal DOL says that they may copy the state DOL's wage rates if they want to. In terms of increased employer responsibility, prime contractors and subcontractors can now be responsible for lower tier subcontractors' violations. Personally, it's how do you control what somebody who you're not paying does? I haven't seen that one happen in real life yet, but they say it can. And then I'll end this slide with this is not everything that they changed. If you're worried about in the past, we accepted payrolls that were on paper by email and PDF files. Some of them were going into SharePoint sites. We really don't want those anymore unless you've got a contract that's from prior to November of 2022. There is an IDOL export option if you've got something where you're working for IDOT, but if it's state-only funded, we'll use the Illinois Department of Labor wage determinations. There is an export option where LCPTracker will create an Excel file. It's not perfect because there's a difference between the way the federal DOL and the Illinois DOL take care of ethnicity. So it's a whole lot better than nothing. It's a good place to start. But the idea is that contractors will have to tweak that Excel file, and then they should be able to import that into the IDOL website. It's, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than nothing. Okay. If you're new to doing this, like we all were 2 years ago, we created fast intro guides, and they're stored in the database under e-documents. And I've got the instructions there, the e-documents tab, download accounts button. If you can find them, great. They're kind of like this presentation where they're full of screenshots with red circles on them, so you have to do this. So they're really user-friendly, and they were made by actual IDOT employees that were trying to help everybody out. So if you can't get them, contact one of your CCO people and me, and we'll, if you need them, we'll get them to you. Okay, wage determinations can be updated every couple weeks or a month, and how does that affect our work? For IDOT contracts with federal wage determinations, we include a wage determination in the contract with the prime contractor, and we do not change it for the length of the job. It used to be that we couldn't change it. Now, if we make a large enough change to a contract, in theory we can. We haven't done it ever yet. Now, this is the difference, and this is what I think is important to this group. If you are using an Illinois Department of Labor wage determination, the IDOL will change their wage determinations on their own schedule. And it is sometimes once every 2 weeks. And the IDOL requires the current wages to be paid when that person is working. So you can get into a spot where you've had a job for 6 months and the wage determination changes. Just something that you need to be aware of. This is what an IDOL wage determination looks like. And I put the website down there if anybody wants that information, so you can look them up. Okay. But basically, it's the same sort of thing as all the others with the base pay and then the holiday, health and welfare, pension, vacation, and training. That amounts to what the feds call their fringes. And then IDOT has these last two columns over, not IDOT, IDOL, has these last two columns over on the right, where if an employee is working 1.5 overtime, they, like the top one, they receive an additional $13.80 beyond everything to the left of that. And if they're working 2 times overtime, double time, they receive an extra $27.59 on top of their base wages and the fringes. And didn't do a great job of explaining this, if you ask me. It just kind of appeared about a year ago. But just want everybody to know that this exists, and I want everybody to have an opportunity to see where the wage determinations are. Oh, also, IDOL has changed their website in the last few months, so if you're used to doing this, if you were doing this a year ago, you might want to create a new link. A lot of companies that contract with the city of Chicago or with, I know there's some companies out by Rock Island who also use LCPTracker, or if you contract with Indiana or Iowa, Missouri, and you've already got an LCPTracker account, can you use their account with our account? The answer, I hate to be like this, but the answer is maybe. It is possible if I can make, it is possible if, and I have it written down here, if the same contractor license number is used on your account with IDOT and with your account with another owner, that I can get those 2 accounts to appear from a single login and password. And a lot of people like that because then they don't lose a login and password. I'll do that for you if you if you're willing to, if you want that done, and if I can. LCPTracker used to call this merging accounts. They've had some turnover now, and now they claim that they've never merged an account. It can be done. I can keep going here. This is where we were at as of a couple weeks ago. There are 710 different contractor accounts in our database, and we had 1,980 contracts. So that's basically 2023 and 2024, so not quite 1,000 contracts a year. It's really slowing down in terms of adding new contractors for us. So hopefully, hopefully everybody's in at this point. There'll be new people. Yeah, we get questions about this fairly regularly. Occasionally you will find a situation where a wage classification does not appear in LCPTracker. And the example that comes to mind is if you find yourself working in Champaign County and you hire an iron worker. There's no iron workers in Champaign County in the federal wage determinations. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. In that case, go ahead and contact your contract compliance person. They're going to talk to you about doing a wage conformance with the Federal Department of Labor, and then they'll create what they call an unconfirmed wage classification for you. So if you get in a pinch where something that's really obvious that should be there isn't there, go ahead and contact the district. We should be able to help you out, and I'll back them up.
Tom, on that, so when you do that, I've done a couple of those.
Yeah.
Does it get incorporated, or you just have to keep doing it on every contract?
Takes time because our contracts last for years, and so we put in. How many are we putting in from the contract compliance people in the room? How many conformances are we doing?
Every contract on some counties.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If something is missing, it'll be
It'll be
missing.
missing on every contract.
It'll be missing on every contract that year because we use the same federal wage determinations for a couple months. The idea is that the federal DOL is seeing that wage conformance request, and hopefully when they get 2 or 3, they'll say, gosh, we should really put a number in our wage determinations. That's our long-term goal. I haven't seen an iron worker in Champaign yet, though, so we'll see when that starts.
I have one in my inbox today, I saw it, so I don't know what, I didn't look at it that close.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about wage determinations is either they tend to come back in about a month, they come back in 4, 5, 6 weeks, or they don't ever come back. And so in the event that it doesn't come back, contractors are supposed to put their employees in the classification that most closely suits what they're doing and pay the rate that's associated with that. Like I said, most of them are coming back, and we're getting pretty good results. They're coming back in about a month. This is one that is different. This is a difference between the Illinois Department of Labor and the Federal Department of Labor that I want people to know about. And the question is, can a contractor pay higher fringe benefits and lower wages? The Federal Department of Labor says we check the total package. So, but the Illinois Department of Labor checks them separately. You have to pay, contractors have to pay the base wage in cash, and then they have to pay the total package in a combination of cash and fringes. And occasionally companies will get caught once in a while where they're paying, a few, $3, $5 extra in fringes, and I think that'll cover up being $1 or $2 short on base wages, and it will not if it's an IDOL contract. This is what I have written here is actually straight off of the IDOL's website. contractors and subcontractors cannot reduce the wage component by paying a greater amount in allowable fringe benefits. Yeah, so if a contractor pays less in the if a contractor pays less in the benefits, then they have to add it to the wages. Right. So basically, you have to pay, to put it in simple terms, you have, on an IDOL contract, you have to pay the base wages in cash, and then your total package of wages and fringes has to be larger than the total package. And it's just something where the Illinois and the feds do it differently. This is something that I don't know how many people in the room know about. The Federal Department of Labor, the Wage and Hour Division, they have revised their WH 347 form. And the old WH 347 form, all this data that we're collecting basically fills in our version of a WH 347. It's what we're required to do. Federal DOL allows us to use equivalent forms or databases, which is exactly what we do. What do we got here? You may notice that the additional information about fringe benefits, which, yeah, that's small and fuzzy. I apologize for that. What appears to have happened here is that the federal DOL is going to want to know more about, you know, who your healthcare provider is, who your pension plan provider is, that sort of thing. And how much money goes to that organization. That appears to be what's going on. So right now, LCPTracker doesn't do this. I've talked to them. They're going to work on, they're going to update LCPTracker over time. And right now, the federal DOL is saying that the system we have now is acceptable until September 30th, 2026, which is more than a year away. And the truth is since we bought LCPTracker, we're going to ask everybody to change when LCPTracker changes. That's just how we're going to have to do it. All right. And that is my email address, and you can reach me at my desk if you, with questions, queries, problems.
Any more questions for Tom?
How fast did I go through that? You got quite a bit of time. I'll take questions.
Oh. Everyone?
There's a
like
hand.
evaluations? Oh, you have a question?
Speak up.
Okay.
As a prime approver, what am I actually approving when I'm approving a sub's payroll?
Sure, that's a fair question. Keep in mind that your sub has had the same checks done on their payrolls that a prime contractor has. So they've already been checked against the wage determination. Their pay and their fringes are already above the minimums. The things that are most likely to happen are somebody will forget to provide a payroll, in which case please nudge them a little bit and say, hey, you're late. Or employees, somebody could be, you should have a good idea of how many employees were on the job. So make sure you've got the right number of employees and make sure they're doing, make sure their wage classification matches more or less what they're doing. And that's the same thing I tell the state people when they're going through this. I don't expect any of us to be sitting here with a calculator checking this stuff, because that's what LCPTracker is for. Does that help? Just a little bit? Okay.
I have another question too about the ethnicity. If we can't legally ask somebody what their ethnicity is.
Sure. This comes up once in a while. We have, this comes up in two situations. One, for some reason somebody doesn't want to say it, or for some reason somebody is, they have two ethnicities. And neither one of those go very well on LCPTracker. I actually got to talk to some people at the Illinois Department of Labor, and the recommendation is make an observation and put it in.
Any more questions? All right, let's give Tom a hand for his effort.